Welcome back. Welcome back, guys, to the reading corner. It has definitely been a few days, and we need to finish through the looking glass. We might get most of the way there tonight, but first we'll turn out our lights. How was everybody's Sunday? I hope you had a relaxing Sunday, and hopefully you got to spend time with family and friends. Don't look at my pile of laundry. At least it's folded. Need to put it away. Okay. Let's see. A little water before I sit down. We had a birthday to celebrate today, and so we did get to see family and friends. Thank God that we always thank God that we do always have celebrations to go to, and lots of birthdays in the summertime especially. It's nice to have a big family and be able to share those moments. That's really what matters when it comes down to it, is your family. And so I hope everybody out there, I wish you all the best in those regards, and you have family right here with me. I pray that all of you feel like family when we read together. When I stumble over words or go back and try to figure out where we were in the story, I hope it rings true to a family member reading to you. And I hope that you take comfort in that and enjoy it. And I really enjoy reading to you. So, oh, we didn't light the candles. We didn't light the candles. Can't have that. I have to stand back up to do that. The table is too close for me to turn around. Put my blanket down. Don't wanna light my beautiful blanket, hopefully. Okay. Here we go with the matches. And these nails are longer than I'm used to. So this should be fun. Let's see if I can get this done relatively gracefully. It's not my specialty sometimes. I wish it was. My dad always used to say I'm like a bull in a china shop. He is not wrong. Not wrong. R.I.P. Ron Lena. He was the best. Okay. Candles lit. Okay. Did everybody get their blankets, pillows, soft things? It's my favorite part. Cuddling up. Cuddling up to read by our cherry blossom tree. This ring might have to come off. It's slipping. It's bothering me. It's better. Much better. Might have to fix this focus. There it is. There it is. Much better. Okay. So we did stop and maybe just the chapter, which I don't like to do, but we're getting towards the end of the book. And let's see, there's Alice. Oh yes. And so she's just with the White Knight, and he keeps falling down. They were talking about whether or not he was a good rider and what makes somebody a good rider of a horse. And camera adjustment. So sorry. Forgive me. Okay, so we'll go back to the last paragraph as we do, as I do, so I can collect myself, make sure that I know what's going on. Oh yes, they're talking about his inventions. So he's invented all kinds of things, and they're having a silly conversation as people do in Wonderland. Pardon me. One more sip of water. My voice. So they're having conversations about all of his inventions and him having plenty of practice riding a horse. So she has suggested that he ought to have a wooden horse on wheels. I'll get one, the knight said thoughtfully to himself. One or two, several. There was a short silence after this, and then the knight went on again. I'm a great hand at inventing things. Now, dare say you noticed the last time you picked me up that I was looking rather thoughtful. You were a little grave, said Alice. Well, just then I was inventing a new way of getting over a gate. Would you like to hear it? Very much indeed, Alice said politely. I'll tell you how I came to think of it, said the knight. You see, I said to myself, the only difficulty is with the feet. The head is high enough already. Now first I put my head on the top of the gate, and then the head's high enough. Then I stand on my head. Then the feet are high enough, you see. Then I'm over, you see. Yes, I suppose you'd be over when that was done, Alice said thoughtfully. But don't you think it would be rather hard? I haven't tried it yet, the knight said gravely, so I can't tell for certain. But I'm afraid it would be a little hard. He looked so vexed at the idea that Alice changed the subject hastily. What a curious helmet you've got, she said cheerfully. Is that your invention, too? The knight looked down proudly at his helmet, which hung from the saddle. Yes, he said, but I've invented a better one than that, like a sugar loaf. When I used to wear it, if I fell off the horse, it always touched the ground directly, so I had very little way to fall, you see. But there was the danger of falling into it, to be sure. That happened to me once, and the worst of it was, before I could get out again, the other White Knight came and put it on. He thought it was his own helmet. The knight looked so solemn about it that Alice did not dare laugh. I'm afraid you must have hurt him, she said in a trembling voice, being on the top of his head. I had to kick him, of course, the knight said very seriously, and then he took the helmet off again. But it took hours and hours to get me out. I was as fast as lightning, you know. But that's a different kind of fastness, Alice objected. The knight shook his head. It was all kinds of fastness with me, I can assure you, he said. He raised his hands in some excitement as he said this, and instantly rolled out of the saddle and fell headlong into a deep ditch. Alice ran to the side of the ditch to look for him. She was rather startled by the fall, as for some time he had kept on very well, and she was afraid that he really was hurt this time. However, though she could see nothing but the soles of his feet, she was much relieved to hear that he was talking on in his usual tone. All kinds of fastness, he repeated, but it was careless of him to put another man's helmet on, with the man in it, too. How can you go on talking so quietly, head downwards? Alice asked, as she dragged him out by the feet and laid him in a heap on the bank. The knight looked surprised at the question. What does it matter where my body happens to be, he said. My mind goes on working all the time. In fact, the more head downwards I am, the more I keep inventing new things. Now the cleverest thing of the sort that I ever did, he went on after a pause, was inventing a new pudding during the meat course. In time to have it cooked for the next course, said Alice. Well, that was quick work, certainly. Well, not the next course, the knight said in a slow, thoughtful tone. No, certainly not the next course. Then it would have to be the next day. I suppose you wouldn't have 2 pudding courses in one dinner. Well, not the next day, the knight repeated as before. Not the next day. In fact, he went on, holding his head down and his voice getting lower and lower, I don't believe that the pudding ever was cooked. In fact, I don't believe that the pudding ever will be cooked. And yet it was a very clever pudding to invent. What did you mean it to be made of? Alice asked, hoping to cheer him up, for the poor knight seemed quite low-spirited about it. It began with blotting paper, the knight answered with a groan. That wouldn't be very nice, I'm afraid. Not very nice alone, he interrupted quite eagerly. He interrupted quite eagerly, but you've no idea what a difference it makes when mixing it with other things, such as gunpowder and sealing wax. And here I must leave you. They had just come to the end of the wood. Alice could only look puzzled. She was thinking of the pudding. You're sad, the knight said in an anxious tone. Let me sing you a song to comfort you. Is it very long? Alice asked, for she had heard a good deal of poetry that day. It's long, said the knight, but it's very, very beautiful. Everybody that hears me sing it either brings the tears into their eyes, or else what? Said Alice, for the knight had made a sudden pause. Or else it doesn't, you know. The name of the song is called Haddock's Eyes. Oh, that's the name of the song, is it? Alice said, trying to feel interested. No, you don't understand, the knight said, looking a little vexed. That's what the name is called. The name really is The Aged Man. Then I ought to have said that's what the song is called, Alice corrected herself. No, you oughtn't. That's quite another thing. The song is called Ways and Means, but that's only what it's called, you know. Well, what is the song then? Said Alice, who was by this time completely bewildered. I was coming to that, the knight said. The song really is a sitting on a gate, and the tune's my own invention. A sitting on a gate, and the tune's my own invention. So saying, he stopped his horse and let the reins fall on its neck, then slowly beating time with one hand, and with a faint smile lighting up his gentle, foolish face, as if he enjoyed the music of the song, he began. All of the strange things that Alice saw on her journey through the looking glass, this was the one that she always remembered most clearly. Years afterward, she could bring the whole scene back again, as if it had been only yesterday. The mild blue eyes, kindly smile of the night, the setting sun gleaming through his hair and shining on his armor in a blaze of light that quite dazzled her. The horse quietly moving about with the reins hanging loose on his neck, cropping the grass at her feet, and the black shadows of the forest behind. All this she took in like a picture, as with the one hand shading her eyes, she leaned against a tree, watching the strange pair and listening, in a half-dream, to the melancholy music of the song. But the tune isn't his own invention, she said to herself. It's, I give thee all, I can no more. She stood and listened very attentively, but no tears came into her eyes. And I guess just before I read this, I'm assuming they're referring to a specific song. The tune, I give thee all, I can no more. I do not know the tune of that song, so if anybody does, and I don't have the right tune, I'm just going to read it as poetry, so I'm not going to put a tune to it. I apologize, and I should probably look that up and do it correctly at some point, and maybe I'll do that. But for now, we'll just read it as poetry. I'll tell thee everything I can, there's little to relate. I saw an aged man a-sitting on a gate. Who are you, aged man, I said, and how is it you live? And his answer trickled through my head like water through a sieve. He said, I look for butterflies that sleep among the wheat. I make them into mutton pies and sell them on the street. I sell them unto men, he said, who sail on stormy seas. And that's the way I get my bread, a trifle if you please. But I was thinking of a plan to dye one's whiskers green, and always use so large a fan that they could not be seen. So having no reply to give to what the old man said, I cried, come tell me how you live, and thumped him on the head. His accent smiled, took up the tale. He said, I go my ways, and when I find, and when I find a mountain rill, I set it in a place. And thence they make a stuff they call Roland's Masquer Oil. You 2 pence halfpenny is all they give me for my toil. But I was thinking of a way to feed oneself on batter, and so go on from day to day, getting a little fatter. I shook him well from side to side, until his face was blue. Come tell me how you live, I cried, and what it is you do. He said, I hunt for haddocks, eyes among the feather bright. and work them into waistcoat buttons in the silent night. And these I do not sell for gold or coins of silvery shine, but for a copper halfpenny, and that will purchase mine. I sometimes dig for buttered rolls, or set lime twigs for crabs. I sometimes search the grassy knolls for wheels of handsome cabs. And that's the way he gave a wink by which I get my wealth, and very gladly will I drink your honor's noble health. I heard him then, for I had just completed my design to keep the Menai bridge from rust by boiling it in wine. I thanked him much for telling me the way he got his wealth, but chiefly for his wish that he might drink my noble health. And now, if ever by chance I put my fingers into glue, or madly squeeze a right-hand foot into a left-hand shoe, or if I drop upon my toe a very heavy weight, I weep, for it reminds me so of that old man I used to know, whose look was mild, whose speech was slow, whose hair was whiter than the snow, whose face was very like a crow, with eyes like cinders all aglow, who seemed distracted with his woe, who rocked his body to and fro. And muttered mumblingly and low, as if his mouth were full of dough, who snorted like a buffalo that summer evening long ago, a-sitting on a gate. As the knight sang the last words of the ballad, he gathered up the reins and turned his horse's head along the road by which they had come. "You've only a few yards to go," he said, "down the hill and over that little brook, and then you'll be a queen. But you'll stay and see me off first?" he added, as Alice turned with an eager look in the direction to which he pointed. "I shan't be long. You'll wait and wave your handkerchief when I get to that turn on the road. I think it'll encourage me, you see." "Of course I'll wait," said Alice, "and thank you very much for coming so far, and for the song. I liked it very much." "I hope so," the knight said doubtfully, "but you didn't cry so much as I thought you would." So they shook hands, and then the knight rode slowly away into the forest. "It won't take long to see him off, I expect," Alice said to herself as she stood watching him. "There he goes, right on his head as usual. However, he gets on again pretty easily. That comes of having so many things hung round the horse." So she went on talking to herself as she watched the horse walking leisurely along the road, and the knight tumbling off, first on one side, then on the other. After the fourth or fifth tumble, he reached the turn, and then she waved her handkerchief to him and waited till he was out of sight. It's Alice, it looks like, with her queen hat on. Good for her. "I hope it encouraged him," she said, as she took to run down the hill. "And now for the last brook, and to be a queen. How grand it sounds!" A very few steps brought her to the edge of the brook. "The 8th square at last," she cried, as she bounded across and threw herself down to rest on a lawn as soft as moss, with the little flower beds dotted about here and there. "Oh, how glad I am to be here, and what is this on my head?" she exclaimed in a tone of dismay, as she put her hands up to something very heavy and fitted tight all around her head. "But how can it have got there without my knowing it?" she said to herself as she lifted it off and set it in her lap to make out what it could possibly be. It was a golden crown. course it was. And we will pick up tomorrow night with Queen Alice. And I think that's the last chapter, so we will finish this story tomorrow night. My shining stars, I hope you enjoyed this little series. And I think I'm going to continue possibly with A Wrinkle in Time. But I'm not sure. We will see. We'll see what I can dig up around here. As far as books go, kind of maybe more like shorter, whimsical, bedtimey stories, kind of like this. It's very kind of magical and sweet and kind of calming to listen to before bed. So, alright, guys. Good night. I hope you're sufficiently relaxed. So good to see you. So good to see you. Let's blow out the candles. Shall we? We'll do cozy comfort first. Gotta be careful with dragonfly. It burns down on the side. I don't want the wax to spill, but I was gonna try to do some tail scratches, but I don't want the wax to spill. And it spilled onto the book. Like immediately. See, it's gonna dry just like that. It's fine then. Got some tail scratches. It's just a little wax. It felt like directly over the center of the rabbit. That's actually kind of cool. And it'll come